In this video, we will discuss former UFC fighter Wanderlei Silva, who lost his bid to join the Brazilian Congress. Some say this is a sign that Brazil is moving away from its MMA roots, while others say that Silva isn't fit for politics. I want to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments below. First up, Wanderlei Silva is a former Pride champion and professional MMA fighter who recently announced his retirement from the sport. Wanderlei Silva, a former Pride champion and professional MMA fighter, recently announced his retirement from the sport. Silva has had an illustrious career in MMA, amassing 35 wins and 14 losses. He is considered one of the best fighters in history, and his aggressive, all-out style made him a fan favorite. However, Silva has battled with injuries in recent years, and his performance has declined. After losing 3 consecutive fights, Silva decided it was time to hang his gloves. In addition to his success in the cage, Silva has also enjoyed a successful career outside of MMA. He has appeared in several films and TV shows and opened his own chain of gyms called One Fight Team. He is also a popular coach and teaches many aspiring fighters. Despite his retirement from MMA, Silva isn't done competing entirely. He has announced plans to compete in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament later this year. And who knows, maybe we'll see him back in the cage someday. For now though, we wish him all the best in his future endeavors. Next, in Brazil's 2022 elections, Silva ran for a seat in the Brazilian Congress as part of the Progressive Party, PP, but came up short with 13,907 votes. In Brazil's 2022 elections, Wanderlei Silva ran for a seat in the Brazilian Congress as part of the Progressive Party, but came up short with 13,907 votes. Silva is a former UFC fighter who has been involved in several high-profile controversies throughout his career. Despite this, he could still garner a significant amount of support from the Brazilian public, likely leading him to run for office in the first place. Even though he didn't win, Silva's campaign was still an important step in increasing awareness and interest in politics among Brazil's younger generation. In addition, his loss could also be seen as a sign that Brazilian voters are starting to become more discerning when electing their representatives. Overall, Silva's campaign was an interesting development in Brazilian politics, and it will be interesting to see what he does next. Meanwhile, Silva leaves the door open to compete in boxing in the future. Although Silva was unsuccessful in his effort to become a member of the Brazilian Congress, he has not ruled out the possibility that he would return to the sport of boxing at some point in the foreseeable future. Silva, a former champion of Pride, has stated that he wants to bring dignity to mixed martial arts and strive toward making the sport more accessible. In addition, Silva views himself as a patriotic individual who has never stopped fighting for freedom. Silva is still very dedicated to changing the field of mixed martial arts and boxing. However, he did not win the 2022 elections. And lastly, as someone who has always fought for freedom, Silva is a patriot who will continue to make an impact in his community. Silva has always been a fighter both in and outside the MMA ring and will continue to fight for what he believes in. He is committed to making a difference in his home state of Paraná and helping to improve the lives of those living there. Next, in other related news, Wanderlei Silva announces retirement from MMA, but calls for a boxing match with Dan Henderson. Wanderlei Silva, a former Pride champion who has competed in the UFC, Bellator, and 51 other contests, has formally announced his retirement from competitive fighting. The axe murderer declared his retirement from mixed martial arts, but perhaps not from actual fighting. In an interview on MMA Fighting's Troco Cal Franca podcast, Silva stated that although he was done with MMA, he would still be open to a boxing battle with the right opponent. The 46-year-old called out Hendo for one final dance, while recalling Vitor Belfort and Dan Henderson while considering rematches he never had in his career. Wanderlei declared, "We're officially retiring from MMA. I find these newest boxing matches to be intriguing. Even though I've never engaged in a boxing match, it would be exciting. Although I've trained with some incredibly talented boxers, I've never actually engaged in combat. I want to compete in a boxing match at reputable tournaments against a respectable opponent." Silva stated that his rematch with Belfort was the one fight that was never scheduled. A rematch with Dan Henderson was another thing I would have enjoyed having the opportunity to compete in. I was victorious in one but defeated in the other, but I wasn't at my best in the second battle because I was fighting a cold. If he agreed to a boxing match with me, I would relish the opportunity to defeat him soundly. Throughout his career, Silva, 35-14, 1-1 no contest, was one of the most well-known fighters of his time. He competed in Pride and the UFC and was involved in many battles in MMA history. The Brazilian fought and defeated several well-known opponents, including Dan Henderson, Quinton Jackson, Kazushi Sakuraba, and Michael Bisping. Next, Thor Silva wins amateur MMA debut with first-round knockout. Thor Silva has first moved toward continuing in his illustrious father's footsteps. Silva, 19, won his amateur MMA debut on Sunday at the Fight Music Show 2, held at the Arena de Baixaba in Curitiba, Brazil. Silva is the son of MMA legend Wanderlei Silva. With his father watching from the stands in his corner, Silva came out strong and quickly took down Gabriel Bonfim with a single leg takedown before launching a barrage of punches from mount and back mount to finish the fight in the first round via TKO at the 2:13 mark of round 1. Above is a video of Silva's impressive amateur debut. Silva had prior experience with a live competition before the fight. The kid, who also has fought in boxing, won his Muay Thai debut in 2019 with a 30-second TKO. Being the son of an MMA icon carries a little bit of pressure, Silva said in an interview with MMA Fighting in August, although he feels it more than his father does. Thor laughed as he remarked of Wanderlei, "He gets more nervous than I do. He always became overly tense and consumed the entire snack that we would typically provide before the events. When I'm about to fight, I don't get that tense. Instead, I remain composed and cool while planning what I'm going to do. I don't think it increases the pressure much." And lastly, Wanderlei Silva wants to box veterans, but not interested in knocking out an old man like Vitor Belfort did. After announcing his retirement from mixed martial arts, MMA, Wanderlei Silva is beginning to wind down his career, but he won't give up completely. The former Pride champion stated that he's open to becoming the latest MMA star to jump to the squared circle to compete under boxing rules while appearing on the most recent episode of MMA Fighting's Trocao Franca. He stated that he's open to switching because I have good boxing. Having stated that, the axe murderer wants to carry out his plan according to his specifications. Boxing veterans like Belfort or Dan Henderson are among the opponents that fascinate Silva in the ring. However, he is also interested in fighting other previous opponents. That is a possibility. Why not? Silva stated that he intended to fight Belfort once more to take revenge for a defeat he experienced in 1998. He has been on the run for a significant time, but who can say for sure? Perhaps right now, at this moment in life, we can close the deal and put it behind us. It would be exciting to take part in a challenge of this nature. We'd make a lot of racket and contribute to the development of our sport. Dan Henderson was another opponent whose rematch I wanted. The first time we played, I was victorious against Dan Henderson, but when we played again, I was defeated. I wasn't feeling my best that day since I was fighting an illness, but Dan Henderson is someone I'd like to square off against. If he's also interested in boxing, I'd like the chance to punch him. Silva explained comments made in 2019 when he indicated he was suffering many symptoms similar to concussions. He was a touch lighter and thinner than he was when he fought MMA for the last time in 2018 in a heavyweight contest in Bellator against Quentin Jackson. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And don't forget to leave a comment below, letting us know what you think. We love hearing from you. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.